Welcome to episode 34 of the MMG podcast. I am your host, Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Go Cubs 711.
In place of a witty intro this week, I'd like you to imagine me flipping off a Google image search of Tom Brady.
You know what? That works on so many levels for this podcast. For what we'll discuss today. So I'm very happy about that. Anyways, welcome everyone to another edition of the MMG podcast. We're back for week number 3. But of course we'll be talking about week 2. So the games that we thought were interesting and or not interesting enough were their blowouts. We'll sprinkle some news, not as much as last week. Probably just one major story that happened this weekend.
Yep.
And then we'll get right into our picks. And of course, Go Cubs, do you have the fantasy stuff lined up?
I do. I have
fantasy
a couple things that I would like to talk about.
All right. So we're all set and we're ready to go. Let's talk week 2. And I gotta say, like, on the surface, this was one of my favorite weeks I can remember of the NFL, because it was such... specifically the last hour of, like, the 1 p.m. games, because that's usually always chaotic, but I don't think I've ever experienced something like we've seen in week 1, or week 2 rather, where it's every game they had you on the edge of your seat pretty much, and, like, utter chaos just kept on breaking out in like every single game. The Browns you thought were gonna finally do it and they didn't, which is I'm gonna feel like that's gonna happen a lot this season.
Yep.
And then you have the Steelers somehow keeping up with the god Patrick Mahomes. We're gonna talk about that in a second. You know, you had the fucking Vikings Packers game that you thought it was over, and then a controversial ruling ended up leading to a freaking tie again. And there was plenty more to sprinkle in there. I mean, the Bucks and the Eagles almost came back against the Bucks. The Panthers were almost back against the Falcons. It was one of my favorite weeks that I remember viewing. And it's high scoring as well. Maybe that's because of the rules. But, hey, scoring's always fun, especially for fantasy players in Mr. Go Cubs. So let's start with the game of the week. And I just alluded to it earlier. Patrick Mahomes has probably had one of the most surprising starts. He's like the token surprising start, I would say, of the 2018 season, maybe next to Ryan Fitzpatrick. But the guy had 6 touchdowns on Sunday, and he has 10 touchdowns on the season, which is the most ever of any quarterback to start the season in the Super Bowl era. The first 2 weeks of the season to score 10 touchdowns. No one has done it ever before, and the fucking guy that is in like his 3rd start does it. It is incredible. He is so much fun to watch. He is able to do anything, it seems like, and the ball placement is just it's beautiful.
Yeah. Not only does he have a cannon for an arm, he's an accurate cannon.
Right, exactly. Right, like you hear like people say like Josh Allen, oh, he has a cannon. I'm like, all right, well, will that lead to accuracy? Mahomes is both, and it is just a beautiful thing. And again, I think that every single one of the weapons stepped up. He had such an array of weapons too. It's beyond just like the big 3 or 4 that we keep on talking about. So it's really it is amazing what Kansas City what run they're on right now. And I do think that their defense might at some point give things up for them. But right now, as long as the offense is going to keep on flying on all cylinders, it's going to be good. But it came essentially. This came down to like the last few minutes or so. The Chiefs had the lead, and the Steelers had one last chance to score, and they didn't do it. It wasn't so much about the finish, but it was the fact that it was 42-37. It was a high scoring game. Weirdly, not the highest scoring game of the season. That goes to Bucks and Saints earlier, but was that I think in its own was just a lot of fun to see 2 relatively dynamic offenses going at it. It was really great.
I have a theory, and this is probably going to be an accurate theory that everyone is going to have, but every Chiefs game this year is going to be a shootout.
It might be. It very well
Yeah,
might be.
because the reason for that is because of the Chiefs
Mm-hmm.
on both sides of the ball. They have such a hyper dynamic offense with how good, especially Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill are, but the other players on that team too are just could potentially be the best offense in football.
It probably is right now.
Probably is right now, honestly. But their defense is so bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So it's on the opposite end. If their offense is 1, their defense is 32, or at least close to it.
Right. And go ahead. Yeah. If you want to
So
finish.
no matter what offense is going to face them, their offense is going to look good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be a matter of can their defense do enough to like just step up a little bit so that their offense doesn't have to be this dynamic, or will their offense have to do this week after week in order to give them a fighting chance?
Right. And I think that what will be good for them is that it sounds like Eric Berry, who has been out since week 1 of last year, I think that he might have a shot of returning, and he's a huge help to a secondary that definitely needs needs the help. And so he could come back, and that could improve the defense a little bit. But overall, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be this team is going to have to deal with a lot of shootouts, and they got to make sure that their offense is basically on point, because if they have like one bad game, it's not going to result in a win for them. One game to keep an eye on the schedule, and we're going to be talking about the other team in like a little bit, but Jaguars at Chiefs. No one's going to be watching this game because it's like a CBS single header game, and it might be only available in those areas, but that's in week 5, and that looks like a marquee game that is going to be a lot of fun to watch, with one of the most dynamic offenses, versus one of the best defenses in the league. So something to keep an eye on. As for the Steelers, just a weird start to the season. Not a single win yet, and this is a team that's supposed to be competing for the AFC crown again.
Except they have the same record as the Cleveland Browns.
Right, and I think that, you could say that Le'Veon Bell's absence is a contribution. I think that James Conner has played very well in his absence.
For sure.
And
no one is going to be Le'Veon Bell, but James Conner is still a good running back.
Yeah.
And potentially like even above average running back. Like he's serviceable for for what he's doing.
Right, exactly. And I think that the defense is really to blame for a lot of the issues. They did not fix their defensive issues in the offseason. It's really costing them. I was worried about the fact that they couldn't really replace Shazier, which is very hard to do. He was a great player when he was there with them, but they didn't really do much to try to solve it, and it is causing issues with the middle of that team. The secondary having a lot of issues as well. And now today, go ahead.
All that ketchup at Heinz Field spilled everywhere.
Yeah, you can't get it back in the bottle. It's bad.
The
Steelers are even more in more turmoil right now because the Antonio Brown didn't report on Monday or on Tuesday.
I didn't know about this.
And he didn't even report on Tuesday.
I didn't know about this.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing though, because I'm like, everyone made a big deal about it, and I don't know if we don't really have much word. All we know is that yesterday he sent out a tweet, and people someone said Antonio Brown can't do what he's doing on this team, that he if he was sent to another team he wouldn't be as good. And so he was like, then trade me then in the tweet. And I was just like, okay, that's just general smack talk, that's fine, whatever. But then he does a report, and I'm gonna just take a wild guess right now and say that it's not a big deal, and say that the team doesn't play till Monday, so maybe he just took a day off. The way that Mike Tomlin was talking today, though, did not make it seem like he was given permission to take off. And that he's gonna have a stern talking to. Now again, this video is gonna be uploaded on Wednesday. We have no idea if he actually reported They didn't say, no one said anything about today. I think it was mainly yesterday. So we don't know if he reported on Tuesday or if he reported on Wednesday. And if that's the case, this is a non-story. But if it is a story, oh boy, this is a bad start for the Steelers this year.
Yeah.
If he's out against the Buccaneers, it is a very bad look for this team. So it is something to keep an eye on moving forward. They need to step up, and it's going to be, believe it or not, it's going to be a very tough task to win this week.
Yeah.
So let us move forward. Unless you have an extra reaction to that, because your guys seem stunned right now.
Look, like, I don't know. Look, it kind of makes me happy just to see the Steelers in shambles because I don't like the team.
Oh man.
Yeah. What for sure one time, maybe more than one time, that I've put my faith and my confidence in the Steelers in the past couple seasons or so.
Yeah.
They've always just disappointed me.
Yeah.
So fuck them.
Yeah, they get what they deserve. Yeah,
They get what they deserve.
Yeah,
and that's their literally potentially the two top three players at their positions you have on your team, and you're not doing enough to make them feel like they belong there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's idiotic. It is irresponsible, and if you can't do that, then you don't deserve them.
Yeah.
Trade them away. Madden curse this, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But
it's, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I think the Steelers were more likable as a team because they have Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, because they're just fun to watch. But
for sure.
But like when it's clearly there's something wrong, and especially with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, again, we're just going off of the information that we have right now on Antonio Brown. It is just so upsetting to see this happen to a team that seemed like they had like one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL, and it's now just falling apart at the seams. And any chance that you have to have the killer bees together for a Super Bowl run, Roethlisberger, Brown, Bell, and of course Chris Boswell, the kicker.
Chris Boswell. You can't leave Chris Boswell out.
Can't leave Chris Boswell out. You're gonna lose half of the killer bees, and it's not good. So
and now you have an old, washed up Roethlisberger.
Right, and we don't know how well he's going to be playing.
And Chris Boswell, who kickers are important. Yes, that is another story from this weekend.
That's true. I forgot about that.
But they're not the most important part of the team or the face of the team.
Right. So
and won't. I can't say won't single-handedly determine your team's success, because again, this weekend happened, but. Are still, you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I think that ultimately, when it's all said and done, the Steelers are really gonna feel bad about at least the start of this 2018 season. If they can rekindle the relationship with Bell and Brown and have them on going forward, then that will certainly be good for them if they have any chance right now of competing for the Super Bowl. But let's move on here. The blowout of the week goes to, of course, the Cardinals at the Rams. Oh boy, this was an ugly game, but not unless you were rooting for the Rams. A pretty solid game. Todd Gurley got a bit beat up near the end, but that was mostly because of just strain on his calves or whatever it was. But it was ultimately the defense played really well, and the offense was great. And I think we could talk on and on about the Rams. They're right now, for me, the best team in the NFL. I think the Jaguars are close to them. I can't believe we're fucking saying that. It's still weird
compared
to me.
Even 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, to say that the Rams and the Jaguars are the two best teams in the NFL
is bizarre.
It's a wild concept.
But That's what that's what good coaching brings you. You know, Doug Marone and Sean McVay deserve a ton of credit for what they've done to these two teams. But anyways, we could talk all we want about the Rams because it's just everything's just going their way. But the Cardinals, I think, are the real story of this game because they're 0-2 and their offense is just non-existent. They are not. I don't even think that they're passing like. they're certainly not passing 100 yards. It feels like, and they're just not having a good start offensively this year, or even defensively. There's just an all around. I feel like this start does rival the Bills a little bit because it's such a low scoring on their part, and then they're allowing all these points from their rivals, like at least now I think like 58 points at least, from between the Redskins and the Rams. This has been just every single time the Cardinals play ever since their like the 2015 NFC Championship. I've just been really sad watching them.
Well, yeah.
You know, because it's like what could have been with this team versus what they are now. Bruce Arians is gone. Carson Palmer's gone. Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, unless something happens at the trade deadline, they decide to move him to another team.
There's no fucking way Larry Fitzgerald is going to another team at this point.
I mean, I would be surprised too. But weird shit has happened at the trade deadline. We all thought that Garoppolo wasn't going to be traded, and then all of a sudden that happened.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, no, I would be very surprised to see Larry Fitzgerald go anywhere, and that means he's probably not going to see a Super Bowl at all in his career, let alone even the playoffs again. Mm-hmm. It is just a mess, and the one thing that I think that Cardinals fans want, and I think that they should really consider at this point, I keep on calling him Sam Darnold because I'm just so used to talking about him now more, but Sam Bradford, it's time for him to go away. He had such good like on again off again seasons, and this one is probably his most abysmal to date. He has been so bad for this team. Part of it's the protection up front, but a lot of it is just that he is just missing throws that are ridiculously easy, and I think why not just give the rookie a chance? Get some excitement for this team. You know, if they're hosting, I think they're hosting this weekend. I'm not too sure if we have no news of who's starting this week. He may. It doesn't really affect who I'm gonna pick. But Rosen to me was my favorite quarterback going into this draft. Why not put him out? Let's just see what he can do. Hopefully he doesn't get like destroyed by the offensive line, but maybe he could do just something a little bit more than what Sam Bradford has done. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just bizarre. By the way, do we know how David Johnson has been doing? Because I haven't really been able to kind of keep track of him this year.
Let me check.
Because I mean, this team, it has weapons. It has good players on this team.
Not great.
Yeah, what's the yardage right now for him?
Okay. Let's see. Week 2, 13 rush attempts, 48 rushing yards, 3 receiving yards. Week 1, he had 37 rushing yards and 1 touchdown, and 30 receiving yards.
Now,
so a little bit better than week 1.
Now, okay, maybe the argument can be made right now. The Redskins have a really good defensive tackle tandem, and so do the Rams. They're very tough to run against. But now they have the Bears next, and that's a good defensive tackle run tandem as well, or at least a good up front.
Yep.
I mean, David Johnson, he deserved to get paid, and hopefully he'll have his breakout game. But this is just overall, I don't think a single Cardinals player is having a good start to this year.
No, not at all.
So it's just a shame. But let us move forward here as we go to our Team Chaos of the Week. And there is the argument to put the Bucks in again, but I like changing out the teams. What about the AFC Championship revenge in the Jaguars and the Patriots battling it in Florida, and the Jaguars? I don't know. I felt like
Blake Bortles has a better record than Tom Brady.
God damn it! Holy shit! That was a little scary, actually. Jacksonville Jaguars utterly dominated this game, and despite the fact that there was some like semblance of a comeback attempt by the Patriots, it was a really good game for them, and it was a really good game for the Jaguars, and they were able to shut the Patriots down with a few a few sacks, a few fumbles. They were able to really keep this team from having the breakout that they had the second half of the AFC Championship game. And it was just an excellent game.
There's something interesting that I want to note about this game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a recurring theme over the past 2 seasons.
Okay.
A very notable Jaguars player was not in this game, and that being Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
Without Leonard Fournette, let me find something real fast.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Without Leonard Fournette, over the past 2 seasons, Leonard Fournette has missed 5 career games. Just completely not played those games.
Correct.
The Jaguars are 5-0 in those games, with point totals of 31, 45, 23, 27, and 31. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a better team without Leonard Fournette, and that is wild to me.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that I thought there was some good reasoning. I want to say it was the Around the NFL podcast was talking about it, but it's mostly, I think it's because when Fournette's there, the play calling for the Jaguars offense is a little bit more predictable. They know what they're going to do. They know when to run the ball. But without Leonard Fournette, they don't know. Defenses don't know, like, okay, what are they going to use? And then the coaches trust are going to have to trust Blake Bortles a little bit more. And then TJ Yeldon is great.
They did trust him, and look what happened.
Yeah. And he put on a show. He had one of his best games, I think, to his career to this point.
Yeah.
And you want him to continue that. You want the consistency. I'm gonna try to. I'm literally I'm playing a guy this week who has Blake Bortles on his bench. I'm gonna ask to trade for Blake Bortles. Probably give him Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
And keep Josh Rosen on my bench.
Well, because look, again, one thing about Blake Bortles that is always going to continue to worry me, because I love the meme, and we love, I do love Blake Bortles, and I love rooting for the Jaguars, but the one thing that he hasn't been in his career has been consistent. While he's had these great games, you've had really quick drop-offs that are kind of scary. I think a great evidence of that was nearing the end of last year, where after he had quite a few good games in the middle of the season, he started to drop off, and it led to the Titans beating them. It led to the Niners beating them, and it led to a really, really rough playoff game that ultimately they ended up coming out and winning. But it was not a pretty game by him. But then the Steelers-Patriots games after that, he was great. So, and even last week, he didn't play well against the Giants, but then this week, he played amazing. It's really weird, the consistency with him, and I'm really hoping that he can continue that. He has a tough opponent next week with the Titans, because the Titans, they have the Achilles heel of this team for the last year. They need to beat them. I really, if he can continue having really great games, we could consider him fixed, I guess, if you want to call it. We consider him that he's finally reached that level where he can be reliable and he can be a quarterback of the future.
His expectation.
Right.
The Jaguars drafted him.
Right, exactly. That number 3 overall pick that he was, we could finally be like, all right, they did it. The Jaguars found their franchise quarterback. But until until he consistently gives out those performances, there's gonna still be questions around it. I mean, his name has been permanently like scarred, I guess you could say,
as the meme quarterback.
Exactly.
Both by NFL media and NBC's The Good Place.
Right. Yeah.
Which again, everyone should watch. If only for the Blake Bortles jokes. There's so much more to that show, but
just for the Blake Bortles jokes.
Just trust Jason Mendoza and his love for the Jaguars. Look. Okay, hold on. All right, so Good Place. Real quick, just about this.
Okay.
This joke that the character makes that like, oh, all the Jaguars need is an offense and a defense and a few rule changes, and they have that now. So
yeah, they have a few rule changes too.
Exactly.
That actually goes against their defense, but it's fine. Shh, it's fine. It counts.
I already made the joke. Let's move on.
All right. But yes, Jaguars are number one. Let's talk a bit with the Patriots real quick though. They have a really bad history in Florida. Patriots. They go down to Miami and they get their ass whooped a lot, and it's just a weird recurring theme with them. I'm not worried about them.
You know what happens in Miami?
What?
I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with it.
Go let it marinate. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, like I mean, the Dolphins to me are. I mean, they're 2-0. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about them. So I mean, fucking maybe they'll have a shot at the Patriots once they play in Florida. I don't know if that's their first divisional matchup or not. I would be curious to check on the schedule.
The Patriots or the Dolphins, because the Dolphins just had one.
Well, the Patriots. I'm looking at Patriots at Dolphins. I don't know when that's happening because I'm curious as to like if that's gonna be coming up soon. I know that's.
I'll look into that while you keep talking.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe the key to the Patriots not doing well is just making them play in Florida.
Patriots Dolphins is week 4 in New England.
Oh, in New England. Okay. Well, so if it's in New England, I do not think the Dolphins have a chance. But if it's in Florida, there might be a chance. There's a team chaos potential there. But anyways, I would definitely be curious to see how this team continues to progress, though, because outside of the Florida statistic, there is a concern about the weapons, at least until recently. And I think that they have a few injuries on defense that they have to worry about too. So, I would like to see how this team continues to build. They're going to be contenders. There's just no way, shape, or form that we can avoid that. But, I would be fascinated to see how they deal with other good teams this year. The Vikings they have on the schedule. The Packers they have on their schedule. Those are going to be some great games. So I'm just curious to see how the Patriots handle that.
Not Patriots Bears?
Well, Patriots Bears. We'll see. I would like to see the Bears win a few more, and then we can talk.
I would like to see the Bears finish a game.
Yes, that's true. That is very true. Let's go to our most surprising team. This was originally gonna just be a week 1 segment, but I was like, you know what? I like this.
This is good. This is good.
I like the segment. I'll start this week with the most surprising team. Because it's actually the team that we probably forgot most about because so much happened this weekend. But it was the Cincinnati Bengals. I really liked when I saw the Bengals this week. I really thought the Ravens had it in this game, but I think the Bengals have shown that they have a lot of weapons, especially in. I mean, I know we want to talk about Joe Mixon, but I like Tyler Boyd. He is playing out of his mind with this team. Now.
Picked up Tyler Boyd off of waivers.
Yeah, he's playing really well.
Hopefully he continues to play well.
Yeah, he's playing better than Eifert right now.
Who I also have.
Yes. All right, that makes sense. But like, I think that this team is finally starting to get rhythm, and then the defense, who I did not think was gonna be playing as well as it has been. They have a really good team. I mean. Even like Sam Hubbard, who's like a backup defensive end, had a big game with this team. So it's like there is so much here for this Bengals team to finally maybe see success. And I think that this AFC North is going to be fascinating to watch. I think right now it is going to be between the Ravens, the Bengals, and then maybe the Steelers. I'm not
Steelers
gonna,
have to get out of their shit and
right,
get their fucking players back.
right. That and I mean, I'm not gonna count out the Browns yet because even though in the last two games they've played well in the last two games,
They have.
so I'm not gonna say that
They
the Browns are completely out of it.
almost won their last 2 games.
Exactly. And it was mainly their kicker, and they finally, I guess they fixed that. I don't know. They kind of replaced him with some no name, but assuming that he's a good kicker, maybe they solved that issue. So look, this is a wide open division, but right now the Bengals look like they're the contender that's going to be like the hardest to beat right now, and we'll see how the battle ensues, I guess. I'm excited about that. What's your most surprising team, Gokums?
My most surprising team is going to be the Dolphins.
Talk about that.
Because like the Jets last week, I thought this was a team that was just going to be ass this year, and they managed to beat the Jets in New York, and did it pretty well. They're now 2-0, and them like this conglomerate of players is managing to of very underwhelming players, if I'm being honest, is actually like turning out well for them.
Yeah.
So good on the Dolphins. They've surprised me the most.
Yeah, what I think is working better than I initially thought was their running game. Frank Gore with Kenyon Drink. I'm sorry. Those two guys have been playing very well, working off each other's playing reps. I think the wide receivers are being used very well. Albert Wilson has his name's popped up a lot with this team, random out of nowhere. Even like Devontae Parker hasn't even played yet, and he's supposed to be a big weapon for this team this year. So I don't know when he will show up. And then the defense, Xavier Howard continues to be a really big force in the secondary. Kiko Alonso, who I've always loved as a player, is having a really good start to the year. So there's a lot more talent on this team than we initially talked about and initially expected, and it's showing through 2 weeks. Now they're gonna have a challenge, maybe not necessarily this week, but in the following week, with the Patriots. They gotta compete for the AFC East now. But hey, this is as good as a start you can get right now.
For sure.
Now for most disappointing team, who do you have?
For most disappointing team, I'm gonna hit you close to home, and I'm gonna say the Giants.
Fair enough. Go ahead. Hit me where it hurts.
Yeah. So you have, debatably the best receiver in the NFL. Maybe not the best, but one of.
One of
the best. You have the most touted college prospect as a running back in years. As your running back.
Absolutely.
You have one of the best rookie tight ends last year. And you have a serviceable defense.
Serviceable. It's very nice, but go ahead.
Not the best. And a probably past his time, but still 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yes.
And you lose to the Cowboys.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. I didn't see the game, so I can't comment on the game, but it's the Cowboys.
I'll say this with the Cowboys. I'm going to give them credit in the sense that they have their defense did show up a little bit in week 1 against the Panthers, and I think this week definitely showed up big time. And it seemed like Dak and Zeke that they were finally getting back into their groove in their games. I don't want to like completely shit on the Cowboys right now, because I think that they were like, it was a good game for them. But this Giants team, I've been saying since the draft that as much as I loved Saquon Barkley and I want them to pick him, and I think that if he's actually successful in New York, I think it's going to be a great addition because we can have those weapons. But I have had a problem with them not doing much with their offensive line and not doing much with their quarterback situation. Last year, I did not like the idea of them benching Eli that late in the year and then starting Geno Smith because I just thought that was just a dumbass move. They could have just started Webb. But I do think that they need to change a quarterback. I just
Yeah.
Eli has not been good in the past few years, and every single offensive coordinator that has come in there to fix him, it has not worked. I mean, Ben McAdoo did it for like 1 year in 2015. He had a pretty serviceable year. Stealing your word there, but
Word of the day.
Word of the day. But after that, he's just had a decline, and he's had to be carried. And again, people use this to take shots at the Giants, but it's absolutely right. He's been carried by Odell Beckham, and he's been carried by the weapons that he has around him. It is just a shame that they have these weapons and they can't do anything for them because the offensive line caves in, and somehow Eric Flowers still has a fucking job. I don't know how this guy, who to try to block someone, tried to trip the guy. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what is happening with this team? Look, Pat Shurmur, he might be the offensive god at some point that he was with the Vikings and, whatever. He's someone said it best earlier. He kind of, if he slicked his hair back and wore heavier clothing, he would be Ben McAdoo again. It's fucking insane. So I am hoping that the Giants find something this year to kind of like work with. They maybe fix their offensive line like a little bit, but this is not a team that was going to win now, and everyone that's kept on saying that they're going to win in the NFC East is absolutely absurd and out of their mind.
I've never understood that claim.
It made no fucking sense. Like
bananas.
Everyone else,
how dumb that concept is to me.
Like, okay, like the only team I could see saying that they're better than right now in the NFC is maybe the Cardinals.
Yeah,
that's it. That is the only team. I mean, maybe the Lions, but the Lions have something built there. Matthew Stafford's at least a quarterback. Eli Manning is a fucking statue. well, he's a statue, and then he collapses under the pocket because the offensive line sucks major donkey balls. But anyways, yes, I'm with you on the Giants. Sorry, need to go on that rant. But it's important.
No, I understand.
It is, my God, people need to stop praising this team because it's not good right now. Do you have any other thoughts on that before I move on?
No, you took more of that.
Good. Most disappointing team to me last week outside of the Giants, I would say, is the Redskins, another NFC East team. They started out.
Man.
It's NFC East.
Fuck that whole division. I hate that division so much.
The division needs to go away. They need to move out of primetime enough. The Redskins are a team that they started out so nicely, had a really nice game against the Cardinals, but then we realized how bad the Cardinals were, and then the Colts beat the Redskins' ass pretty bad. Adrian Peterson did not have that great of a day. Alex Smith played relatively well, but not enough to actually get them the win. Defense kind of fell apart against Andrew Luck, which again, Luck is a great quarterback. So I mean, the Colts were definitely a candidate for most surprising team. They had a really good game, but now I'm a little worried about them because I thought that they could compete in like the NFC East, maybe like be a second place team, maybe not make it to the playoffs at all. But based on that performance, I don't know. They have some tough competition moving forward. I'm not too sure how well they're going to do in the coming weeks, so I'm worried about them. If I'm in the Washington area. By the way, another reason to be disappointed with the Washington Redskins, really bad attendance. Yeah, they to have a home opener. They are like a 70,000, 80,000, seat stadium. They only had like 50,000, which usually for home openers, they're much more filled. It's coming off of a really nice win with a new quarterback in the realm. Like, you think that there would be more excitement. Not a lot of excitement around Washington. Maybe they will, fall apart, and maybe they'll change their fucking name. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that is my viewpoint on the Washington Redskins. Anything from you on that?
Nope.
Okay. let's talk what happened this weekend with Josh Gordan, because this kind of came out of nowhere. So it started early Saturday. All of a sudden, injury report comes out, and they rule him out for the Saints because he has a strained hamstring.
Yes,
and
which people were worried about because, of course, the he may have gone into it too quickly,
right.
From his initial hamstring injury.
Right. So people were like, all right. I mean, it was sad to see that, and it was like, all right, well, if they did want to upset the Saints, then that kind of hurts them. But whatever. I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, all right, well, that doesn't really change how I think that game's gonna turn out. Whatever. Then all of a sudden, it was in the middle of all the college football-ness happening, and all of a sudden the Browns released a statement announcing that Josh Gordan is going to be released after 6 years with the franchise, or almost 7. Is it 7 years? No, 6 years, I think.
I think this was year 6.
He's finally getting released, and some kind of disturbing details about what happened Saturday kind of came out. Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com, I'll give her credit for this report, but essentially, he came in with the hamstring injury, was not on the practice field with it, and supposedly he was in a promotional shoot, and it was not a team promotional shoot, so the team was not aware that he got injured, and then he came in with the injury, and supposedly, according to the report, he did not seem right, and there was a suggestion that he might have been on substances, which is very not good. And I don't know. When I heard that, I was like, I don't even know if this guy's gonna play anymore. Because it just seems like every single time he finally gets that chance to come back out, he falls into really bad habits again. And I don't know. I feel really bad for him. I think that people want to go after people for their addictions and being irresponsible, and they should be blamed for everything. I mean, there's some blame maybe in the responsibility aspect of it, but not when it comes to an addiction. An addiction is a mental illness, and you can't break a mental illness that easily. And he's been struggling really bad with it. He's been really honest about it. He's been a relatively good guy. He's not a dick to people. He's a nice guy. He's done good.
He just has this troubling thing.
Right. And so I was very much, I just felt bad, and I still feel bad, and I'm hoping that moving forward he can find, he can recover, and he can find that life post, substances, he can, he can be sober. And then, a few hours after that report, Adam Schefter came out and he said that the Browns might be looking for a trade because they got some calls from teams. And so that market started picking up. So now let's put the substance abuse part of it aside, because obviously it's a very serious thing. And let's hope that, let's just say for right now, that he is turning the right corner, and that he will end up taking off of the substances. Maybe the whole thing that happened on Saturday was not necessarily interpreted correctly. All right, let's just say that he's sober. This was a hot topic on Sunday. Despite all the chaos that was happening, everyone was wondering where the hell he would land. First thing that you texted me was the Patriots.
Okay, I had read that somewhere else, and I was like, but it was plausible.
Yeah, no.
The Patriots receiving core is bad right now, and they usually just take people.
Right.
Take really good players who are released or traded.
Well, you're right. And everyone under the sun, usually when a big player gets released into the wild like that, the Patriots are always and picking them up. So it's that's the go-to team with a lot of these things. There's also rumors about the Raiders, the Cowboys, Niners, Redskins, Jets. There was a lot of teams in the mix there. And then come Monday, I am like on the edge of my seat at work because like I'm doing work, but I'm like also checking my phone to be like, oh my god, where is he gonna get traded? Where is he gonna get traded? And then sure enough, Ian Rappaport, Patriots are closing on a deal with Josh Gordan. I'm like, God damn it! Like I'm just like losing my mind. I'm like, are you serious? Like, of course they pick him up, and I'm just like, I mean, look though, on one hand. If Gordon goes there and if he can find if a change of scenery is what is needed for him and he is able to find if he's able to sober up and if he's able to find success there and even if he wins a Super Bowl with them, I would be very happy for him because that means he's reached a really good point of his life that he finally did something that he's been wanting to do, which is succeed in the NFL. And if he's a big part of the team, like especially, then good for him. And I will root for him, but I will root for him individually because I fucking cannot believe the Patriots of all teams picked him up. And like again, this all goes back to like they gave up a 5th round pick for this guy. Where the fuck are the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Redskins? What the hell were they offering? They could have offered a 4th round pick and they would have been better. Browns were looking to trade outside of the AFC, and they ended up settling on the fucking AFC. On the AFC, which is the Patriots.
The AFC.
The AFC.
The only team in the AFC.
Pretty much, at this point. Like, I mean, look, I'm just saying that there was a lot of teams that could be using the services of Josh Gordan, and yet again, the Patriots are one step ahead of everybody else on that matter, and it's gonna. I'm not saying it's automatically going to lead to their success. I think a lot of people get in trouble when they say that. But I do think that if Josh Gordan does succeed with them, that they are gonna. It's gonna be a much tougher competition for the Jaguars and much tougher competition with anyone else that they face in the AFC. It's their best threat since Randy Moss. And which is a lot of people have been saying, I think it's true. It is a very, very good player, and it could change the directory of the Patriots season. So, I'm worried. But for Go Cubs, you got him on fantasy, so that's good.
Yeah. So, just on the fantasy side of before I get into my later fantasy segment, on the fantasy side of the Josh Gordan stuff, like. At least 50,000 teams in Yahoo dropped Josh Gordan, and I get notifications like these just because. Mm-hmm. And he's still playing.
Yeah.
They couldn't have waited like 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Well, they could have waited like 2 hours and seen that he's going to get traded.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
They're dumb. And everyone in their league is going to point and laugh at how dumb they are. And the person who picks up Josh Gordan after while also having like fucking Odell Beckham and Julio Jones are going to just steamroll into the championship because they are smart.
Right. And again, and this is hoping the best case scenario is that he ends up getting better and he ends up succeeding. I am rooting for him as much as I hate it. I will root for Josh
Gordan, not Patriots.
Right, exactly. I am very excited for him to get an opportunity with a successful team and a successful quarterback to make some plays. It makes rooting for the Patriots like a little bit better, like just a tiny bit better, just a little bit. Anyways, so that's the story. It was crazy this weekend, but that was a storyline that ended up going into Monday and everything. Also the kicker thing. We could talk a little bit about the kickers, but ultimately every kicker sucked last week. And a bunch of kicker changes happened. But the Vikings, I think, got the best deal out of it, which is after all the difficult difficult kicks that they had to have to deal with while they tied with the Packers. They got Dan Bailey, who is one of the best kickers of all time, honestly. And I don't know why it took him so long to get signed, but he is there with the Vikings, and he's going to be a huge help to a team that's already trying to get to championship caliber. So, very good news for them. The Rams are without their kicker for a little bit because of injury. The Browns had kicker trouble. They brought someone in again. Few no names. I'm not really too sure who they specifically brought in, but the Saints had some kicking trouble as well. I could probably point to a few other examples, but it was just a bad day for kickers. Let's calm down on bashing the kickers too much though. Let's stop sending them death threats. It's ridiculous. They have one of the harder jobs in sports, honestly. Because if they miss one kick, like their lives are ruined. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's stop bashing them. All right, let's get into week 3. One of my favorite weeks. I think this is going to be one of my favorite weeks of the season. I'm hoping that there's some good games, but it is going to be one of my favorites because I don't know. There's something with me that I really enjoy interconference matchups a lot because it's like these teams only face each other like once every 4 years. Yeah, like it's like, and it feels like there's like a little bit more at stake with it because it's like you're probably not going to see this team for another 4 years, so you want to make a statement now. So I love it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good week. Eight total interconference matchups.
Excellent.
And now, quick update on how we are doing. I'm 16-14 with the record right now. You are 15-15. You pulled within 1 this week. You had a better week than I did.
Oh,
yeah,
hell yeah.
Yeah, so
500.
Yeah.
Another note about being 500. This is the first time that the Bears are 500 since 2014.
There you go.
That's
awesome.
Bad.
well, it's bad, but it's starting to turn around.
Yes.
But yeah, like I am. You got 8-7. You went 8-7 on picks last week. I went 7-8. Ultimately, what got me was the Jaguars Patriots game, which that's what I get for down on the Jags.
Yeah.
There you go. But I think the other ones were Chiefs Steelers. You got it right with the Steelers, and I forget what the one I deferred on that I got right. Crap, I'm not gonna remember.
Let me see if I can look.
Because I know it was like
Eagles Bucks. You got that.
Oh,
right?
that's right. It was my team Chaos. That's right.
Yeah.
So the Buccaneers. Ooh, my God, they're a spicy team right now.
Fitz magic.
Yeah, first quarterback to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl era, in 2 games. Ryan Fitzpatrick. There you go.
What the fuck?
There you go. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Patrick Mahomes are your top quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
Not a thing that should happen.
And the pick standings as they are right now. I won't list all of them, but we do have quite a few teams that we are currently undefeated in picking, either for or against. We have picked them correctly.
All right.
So we'll continue. We'll see how long it takes for us to get all the teams wrong. If we do, hopefully we can go 16-0.
Last season, the only team that was 16-0 betting against the Browns every single time.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yep.
That was, what a circumstance that was. Hands down, really weird. All right. Speaking of the Browns, let's kick off our picking predictions with our Thursday night football matchup between the Jets at the Browns. Before the season, this looked like, what the fuck? Why is this a Thursday night football matchup? It kind of still does, but there's some intrigue.
There is.
We'll see if Sam Darnold can turn things around after, he had a great week 1, not so great week 2. We'll see if he turns it around. But this Browns team playing great on defense, and Tyrod Taylor could be playing better, but this team is looking really nice. We'll see how things go. What do you think is going to happen in this game, Go-Cubs?
So I think this is actually going to be another close game that the Browns are going to have to suffer through again because I have the Jets in this one.
You're the Jets. I'm a Cleaver.
You could just say believe.
I believe in the Cleveland Browns. And I'm going with the Browns this week. This is good. It's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be close, but it's at home. It's with a fiery defense. Don't think the Jets are as good of a team as the Steelers are. And plus, it's not in terrible conditions. I do think the Browns turn things around this week. I think this finally is it in prime time. They get their fucking win. Let's go Browns. Let's see how it goes. Moving on, the Vikings are hosting the Buffalo Bills, and this is, oh boy. I mean,
I would just like to point out that the user consensus for this game before we say anything is 98-2.
I feel bad for that 2%, man. If the Bills pull this out this weekend, we have to get the lick the floor prediction again, like we did like a few years back.
Yeah. Oh, that was a big.
But like, my goodness, I'm not gonna actually propose that, but it would be the most shocking result, I think, of the season if the Bills went into Minnesota and beat the Vikings. I would be shocked, but I think we can say we're both going on the Vikings on this one. Hands down.
That's where you're right.
Okay, you like made my heart sink for a second. I was just like, oh no, go Cubs. All right. Moving on here. The Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Frank Reich returns to the Eagles. He was the offensive coordinator in their Super Bowl run. Now, coming back as a head coach, he may know some of their tricks with their sleeves. But the Eagles also might get Carson Wentz back this week. This is
true.
This is a Carson Wentz week. So something to look forward to come Sunday. What's going to happen in this one?
I think that Carson Wentz is going to come back, and even if he doesn't, Nick Foles will still do a pretty good job against this Colts defense.
Yeah.
And Andrew Luck won't be able to return the favor, so I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles. Colts defense, Darius Leonard, Marcus Hunt, they got a few good players playing well on that team, but I do think the Eagles bounce back, especially with the return of Carson Wentz. Hopefully maybe Nick Foles could play wide receiver, just to help them out a little bit. We'll see.
The greatest receiver.
The greatest receiver ever. Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Moving on, the Packers at the Redskins. I think they played once. I think they played once after their playoff game between each other back in like 2015. But this is Aaron Rodgers versus Alex Smith, the two first-round quarterbacks, or at least the significant first-round quarterbacks of the 2005 draft. And so what do you think is going to happen in this one?
In this one, the Aaron Rodgers is going to do his thing. They tied against the Vikings, and the Vikings are a much better team than Washington right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Alex Smith could be the good Alex Smith that we sometimes see.
Yes.
Not the bad Alex Smith that he kind of was last week.
Yeah.
So I think the Packers are going to take this one.
I'm with you. I'm going Pack. And Redskins, they have a chance to maybe make a statement here. It's at home, but again, like we said earlier, their home field advantage is kind of rough right now. So this may contribute to your away percentage, by the way, which is not going so well.
No, it's not.
11, 19, and 2, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a rough away record right now. But we'll see. We'll see how
We'll see
how the season turns around. Next up, the Niners against the Chiefs in West Division matchup. Two teams that had Joe Montana on their team at one time. But this is going to be a battle between the Patrick Mahomes, this god of a quarterback right now, going against the former god that everyone was praising, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's kind of been under the radar. Hasn't had a great start to the year. Maybe he turns things around in this one. What do you think's going to happen, Go Cubs?
Yeah, so like I said, this is going to be another shootout, and I think Mahomes is going to win.
Yeah, I feel good about the Chiefs in this one, too, because I don't know. The Niners, they played a little too close for comfort against the Lions last week. I think that they're going to keep on going. They have some defensive players that are standing out more than we expected, but I'm not expecting that to slow down the Chiefs. The Chiefs should have a good game, so I'm going with them. especially at home, especially at Arrowhead. That's gonna be a good game.
Yeah.
Next up, the Raiders at the Dolphins. Dolphins 2-0. Raiders 0-2. This is a matchup between this is the only 2-0, 0-2 matchup of the day. What do you think is going to happen, Gomez?
Yes. I think that surprisingly, the records are going to continue to go in the opposite direction. Would not have, at the start of the season, predicted myself going with the Dolphins, but here we are.
Yeah, and I'm surprised about the Dolphins too, and it seems like they could have a really good chance to go 3-0, but I don't know about that actually. Because let's just say this: Derek Carr had a really good game, and the offense generally had a really good game against the Broncos defense. That's usually really tough to play against. They need to learn how to finish games, and the defense needs to improve. They need to learn how to pass rush after losing Khalil Mack. It is just non-existent right now. But yes. I do think that despite all the tough things that happened with this game, an early time slot, going to the East Coast, all that, I do think the Raiders overcome. John Gruden gets his first win, and for once, I'll give the Raiders like a little pat on the back. We'll see. Give it some team chaos action. There you go.
Okay, you're gonna team chaos that. All right.
Yeah, team chaos. Well, like it's the only 0-2 2-0 matchup, so it has to be some chaos, right? Come on.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Next up, the Jaguars take on the Titans. This was a divisional matchup that was leaned one-sided last year, unfortunately for the Jaguars, but things are kind of looking up for the Jaguars. They're considered number one in a lot of article rankings, and the Titans they're kind of reeling right now, even despite winning a close game against the Texans. They're not playing to par, but they're pretty good coaching thus far from that team. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Real quick, I want to retroactively issue my lock because I don't think I said this.
Oh, what was the guarantee?
I'm gonna guarantee the Packers.
Oh, the Pack. Ooh, I like that. I like the guarantee. Very nice. Go ahead. What is your pick for the Jaguars?
In this scenario, the Bortles train will not stop. The boat will continue to win. I'm gonna go with Jaguars.
I was actually really concerned for a second. I was just like, did he notice guarantee because then he didn't do guarantee because he had the team chaos lasted here? Like I was just like, oh.
No, I already have it.
Okay, I was so worried for a second. I was like, oh my god.
No, I'm not gonna fucking pick against the Jaguars. What do you take?
Yeah, right, exactly. I was like, wow, that's surprising. Anyways, I gotta go Jags too. This is right now. I'm not a fan of this Titans team again, even though they're gonna win games. I'm gonna be so bad again, but Jaguars. I gotta go with them. I think that I have faith. They can finally overcome. Next up, the Broncos head to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Ravens coming off of a loss. Broncos currently 2-0, looking pretty good. What do you think? What do you have on this game?
So yeah, the Broncos are doing a lot better than I personally expected this year.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking Philip Lindsay is the third highest rusher after 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
No one expected that, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Ravens coming off of a tough Bengals loss, but still, they looked good against the Bills, but still a pretty good team this year, and I think could compete for the division. Just simply by record, I'm going to count this as a team chaos and go with the Ravens.
Ooh, team chaos! I like this. I like this as a team chaos. I actually have the Ravens listed as well as my pick.
All right.
And the reason I think that exactly. I think it comes down to records too, because I mean the Dolphins I don't think are really a 2-0 team, but we'll see. But I agree with you because I think that with this Ravens team that there is more all around this Baltimore team than the Broncos. The Broncos have played very well out of the gate. I'm worried about Case Keenum still. I think he could play like a little bit better than he has been. And I think that because this is going to be their first game away from home, the Ravens have a tough stadium to play in. I gotta go with Baltimore as well. So I like it. I like the team chaos in that one. Next up, the Saints, one of the two divisional matchups, of course, according to the Titans and Jaguars. Saints will be going to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. And yeah, they'll go to Atlanta to take on the New England Patriots. No,
Yep.
taking on the Falcons, and this is a game that will have offenses that are looking to have a breakout game versus defenses that are looking to step up. A lot at stake here with this game. What you got in this one?
This one was actually really hard for me
Mm-hmm.
because the Saints have disappointed this season so far.
Yes.
The Falcons have disappointed this season so far.
Yes.
The Falcons are really injured this season.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of starters. This, like I said, this one was hard. I'm gonna give it to the Saints this time.
Give it to the Saints. I'm gonna go opposite here. I'm gonna go Falcons, and just because I do agree, I think the injuries are gonna hurt them moving forward. But the big problem with the Saints right now is that they have given up. They've are a very tough. This is a tough rivalry because I just think that you could throw away the records in anything that's happened in the past two games, and it is very difficult between these two teams. It's all, it all goes out the window. But I do think that the Saints are missing Mark Ingram big time because the offense is just not nearly as dynamic. And I think the Falcons' defense, despite losing some great players, have filled those roles very well. And I'm gonna go with the Falcons in this matchup, and especially it's because they're at home. It's hard to pick against the home team in these rivalries, but I'm gonna go with the Falcons.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This was a very hard choice for me.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great rivalry overall because we'll also see these teams face each other on Thursday Night Football as well as the Titans Jaguars, which is interesting. But this is very much everything's up in the air with this game. I'll defer and make things a little bit more interesting with that. So let's move on here. Cat Bowl, baby. It's back and it's here. We finally get to Cat Bowl after all these years. Of course, it's only
4 years.
Yeah, it is. But of course, it is unfortunately in the regular season, but that's okay. It is here. The Bengals take on the Panthers. And the Bengals are coming off a really great win, both conducting offensively and defensively. Really a great game overall, despite the Ravens just trying to come back. The Panthers, they tried to come back against the Falcons, could not do it. Offense started to look a little stalemated, but they made some good plays in the game, and defense kind of gave up a lot. But what do you think's going to happen in this game, Go Cubs?
So the last time that these teams met was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a tie.
It was a tie.
If any game is going to tie this week, it's going to be this one. That's not my prediction.
Yeah, I was going to be like, you can't do this shit.
It's not my prediction, but you heard it here first.
Yes.
I'm going to surprise you maybe and go with the Bengals on this one.
That does surprise me.
Yeah, because obviously I'm a big Panthers fan, but the Bengals are looking hot, and the Panthers are looking not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think I want the Panthers to do well, obviously, but the Bengals are surprising a lot of people, including myself. So I'm gonna go with them in this one. Maybe deliver an upset and solidify a divisional lead.
Yeah, I am surprised. I thought we were actually going to defer on this one. It turns out we agree. I'm going with the Bengals as well, because I just think right now as it stands, this is a better all around team than the Panthers. Trust me, I do think the Panthers are going to be successful this year in some facet. They do have the talent, but it's a tough stretch in the beginning here, and I think the Bengals are going to take care of business. So that is that. Let's move on to the 0-2 game between the Giants at the Texans. I think the Texans are maybe more surprisingly 0-2 than the Giants. But nonetheless, we have reached a point where if this is a back-breaking game here. If you lose this game, you're pretty much done for the year. And I don't know. I got Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been himself yet. Will look to turn around against the Giants defense that is again, let's go back to the word serviceable. But I don't think it's going to be too dominant for Deshaun Watson. And then you have J.J. Watt, who, despite him being quiet thus far, is going to get his first sack this week, I think. Against a really bad Giants offensive line, especially if it's J.J. Watt versus Eric Flowers. Oh, that's going to be beautiful. But the Giants, they have their weapons. What do you got, Go Cubs?
The Texans should not be 0-2.
They should not be 0-2, no.
They should not be 0-2. And I'm going to pick them this week. I'm very happily starting DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy.
Yeah.
And
hey, go ahead.
I think this is going to be pretty decisive in the Texans' favor.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you to the extent that I guarantee it. I'm gonna guarantee it gets my. I do this all the time where I guarantee it gets the Giants. It's just I don't know. There's some kind of like if it works then good, but then if it doesn't, well then at least the Giants win. Like so there's a good feeling with that guarantee. But I think the Texans top to bottom are a better team than the Giants right now. I think they have the better receiver, believe it or not. I think that Lamar Miller is starting to have his breakout year, while Saquon Barkley we're still kind of waiting on. So he's going to be playing well. I think the offensive line's better. I think the defensive line is better. I think the secondary is better. With Tyrann Mathieu having a great start this year, I'm going with the Texans, and I guarantee it. Anyways, moving on here, the Rams versus the Chargers, the battle of LA, is also finally here in the regular season. And the Rams off to a great start, really blowing people away. Another team that's being ranked among the best in the league. Going up against a Chargers team that took down the Bills despite a comeback attempt by the Bills. And a game that the Chargers are, they could make a statement here. They have the talent on offense and defense to compete with the Rams, but it's going to be a tough task when they're playing in LA Coliseum. What do you got going for you, Go Cubs?
Yeah, this is this was actually I was thinking in the off season, what if it was an LA Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was plausible.
Yeah.
But in this matchup, I think the Rams are, especially being at their current home stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Rams are gonna take this one.
I so badly wanted to pick the Chargers in this game.
Me too.
I couldn't pull myself to do it. I just think right now that this Chargers team is really missing Joey Bosa. And they need to get him back soon. They need to they're playing very well offensively. But the defense needs to step up, especially against this dynamic Rams offense. It's going to be very hard to, though. I'm going with the Rams. Next up, the Cowboys at the Seahawks. The Seattle finally going home. Home opener. They're 0-2. So it seems like they have an advantage over the Cowboys. But the Cowboys are coming in off a nice win. Their defense is starting to step up. What do you think is going to happen in this one, Go Cubs?
This is I feel like this is a rough matchup for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Because Seattle is not what it used to be,
right,
by any means. And the Cowboys just aren't that good, in my opinion.
Right.
This year.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So I think partially because of home field advantage and partially because they were able to do some things against the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the Seahawks in this one. Get them their first win.
Yeah, I really wanted to pick the Seahawks here because there's so many good stories that are in the Seahawks team. I mean, Shaquem Griffin we've talked about a ton with him being one hand. It's amazing that he's been able to overcome that. But you also have a guy, Keenan Reynolds, who's a special teamer, but he's a guy that was served in the Navy, and now he's on the team, and he's finally seems like he's finding his rhythm and getting playing in the league now. Yeah, you just have a team that like seems like it still has bits of their championship in it, despite all the players being gone. But I gotta go with the Cowboys. I was impressed by their defense, and considering how inept the Seahawks offense was last year, or last week rather, I gotta go with the Cowboys in this matchup. Moving on here, the Chicago Bears coming off their first victory of the year. Speaking of the Seahawks, of course, that Monday Night Football game. That was a fun one to text between us, especially the Prince of Mukamara intercepting the ball to win the game and pick sixing it.
Yes.
And but the Bears, they now get a pretty easy matchup against the Cardinals. Will Josh Rosen start? Is the question, and will he be able to handle Khalil Mack? What do you got?
The Bears are going to kill two birds with one stone.
And that one
And
stone.
by
is
that,
killed.
I mean 2 bird teams in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's a good one. I was just like, you're gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and that stone is Khalil Mack.
Well, also true.
Yeah, I mean, we gave Khalil Mack a lot of credit, but that defense as a whole is playing very, very
Yes.
well. And I think I gotta give a lot of credit to Chicago. They need to get their offense in order. It seems like they start out great and then they kind of give it up. I know we were just talking about that earlier. They need to get better at holding on to their leads. But
Yeah.
I
They start out so well, and then Trubisky gets nervous when first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks start mounting comebacks against him.
right, yeah, and like with
Which
Trubisky,
who wouldn't be, but
Trubisky starts like channeling. He starts channeling. I hate to throw stones at Bortles here, but he starts channeling Bortles, and when Bortles is not playing well, when like he starts like kind of get antsy with the feet and like thinking that he has like he could make a big throw and it just does not end up making like working out well. That ends up happening with Mitchell Trubisky at like in the second half. I think that he'll be fine this week. Going forward, I will be worried, but you know that is stuff that is going to be worked on throughout. It reminds me a lot of the struggles that the Jaguars went through last year with Bortles trying to get on track, and with Trubisky entering his second year. I mean, it's obvious that he's going to have those struggles. So I'm going with the Bears. I feel pretty good about that for this week.
for sure.
Moving forward, why is this Sunday Night Football? Lions hosting the Patriots. Josh Gordan might actually play in this game, by the way, and
Yeah.
you have him. You got defense is playing, again, injured, but, is playing relatively well. Offense, obviously, with Tom Brady at the helm. And then the Lions, they had a nice comeback against the Niners, but that fell short. And now they are having to face, Matt Patricia is going to have to face his mentor. And that is not a successful recipe. The trainee, or the coach that has been under the Belichick tree usually does not do well against Belichick. This is a rough matchup, but what do you think is going to happen, Go Cubs?
I can't remember if I said this last week, but I've definitely told you at one point. I don't want there to be a successful Belichick coaching tree.
Yeah.
Matt Patricia sucks.
Just right out of the gate, he sucks.
Yep. Patriots are going to win this one.
Yeah. It's too soon for me to call that, but thus far it's been a rough start. And it's gonna be rough this week. I'm going with the Patriots.
He turned, and I know it's not just him, but last year, and years before that, Matthew Stafford was a really accurate and really reliable quarterback. Not a high ceiling, but pretty high floor, pretty middle of the road quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And then he threw 5 interceptions against the Jets.
Yep, it's rough. It is rough. I mean, look, what one thing you could say about the Lions is that they have a tough schedule overall, but they'll get one of those games. Maybe it'll be against the Bills, that all of a sudden they start getting into the road. I thought the second half of that game against the Niners was really reassuring, that they started building their offense back up, started containing Jimmy Garoppolo a lot. But I don't know if that's going to carry over to this week, especially with the Patriots. We'll see if weeks beyond it works. But for right now, Patriots. And last but not least, Fitzmagic is... I wrote Patrick instead of Patriots for your pick, but as I was
No, this is Patrick.
The Fitzmagic is going to remain in Tampa Bay for this week, and will be taking on another Philadelphia team in the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that could be without Antonio Brown, will probably be without Le'Veon Bell, will continue to probably have defensive issues. But it is the Steelers, and they figure out ways to beat teams sometimes. But the Buccaneers, hot hand, Ryan Fitzpatrick, with a bunch of weapons, playing very well. The running game is not good, but the rest of the weapons, very good. And maybe their defense will step up in this game. What do you think is going to happen, Go Cubs?
I never thought I was going to say this season. No one ever thought that they were going to say this season, with how bad I thought the Buccaneers were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And with how much they have subverted expectations with Ryan Fitzpatrick as their starting quarterback. The Steelers could potentially have a worse record than the Browns after this week. I just want to point that out there.
The Browns got the Jets, so
yeah.
So
let's go Buccaneers.
Go Buccaneers.
Fitzpatrick needs to play so well that Jameis Winston never has a starting quarterback job again. I really want that to happen.
I'm gonna keep on saying it, but my bold prediction's not that bad right now with the Buccaneers, not being last place.
Yeah,
looking pretty good.
And look, they could win the division, and you would be right because they're not last place.
That would be incredible. I'm glad I didn't predict that, but I'm glad that would be incredible. And look, this is a team that I've always thought was talented. I thought they would be more talented on the defensive side. That hasn't panned out yet. But this offense is so dynamic and it's so good, and I do think that the home field advantage will play a factor in this. The Buccaneers haven't had a great home field advantage in a while. But this could be the start of something great with them. I just don't see how the Steelers can go in there right now with the team playing the way they have and beat this really, really good play. This team was expected to go 0-3 because without Jameis Winston, they're going to go 3-0 in my opinion. Yeah. I'm going Buccaneers.
Especially with if Brown doesn't report.
Right.
This is an easy one.
Exactly. And by the way, next week the Bears got to face the Magic.
Yeah, I know. Look, when I was playing out the Bears schedule, Ryan Fitzmagic did not fit into that plan.
It's a much different plan now.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll see. That's gonna be one of the underrated matchups. The Bears defense against Fitzmagic. It's gonna be good game next week. But
the fuck is this game? I love it.
Yeah, but of course we'll see how this week's plays out. I think the Bears will be fine, but hopefully Fitzpatrick continues playing as well as he is, because that's a storyline I do not want to see go away, especially what he was wearing in his press conference and the stay humble thing. That hilarious.
Stole it from
Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I've always loved Ryan Fitzpatrick, even when he was with the Jets, and I hated the fact that he regressed so much. But I knew that at some point we'd see success from him again, and we finally are seeing it. And he's playing the best games of his whole career.
Yeah.
Do we know that he was from Harvard, by the way? Yes. I mentioned everything about Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He went to Harvard?
Please. Yes.
Oh my God.
All right. So we deferred on 3. We deferred on 3 games again, so we'll see how that ends up. You have the chance to take the lead on me this week.
I do.
So we'll see how that all pans out. And I'm feeling, again, this week is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And is there and what do you got for fantasy? Go fantasy with
All
Go
right.
Cubs.
Go fantasy with Go Cubs. So, biggest thing that I want to talk about is if you have an idiot in your league who wants to give up Josh Gordan, trade for him.
Mm.
You probably have someone that they will be okay with. I'm still pretty high on Josh Gordan, even with the team change. Might take a couple weeks, but he's gonna do just fine.
I think he'll be fine as long as he stays sober as well.
Yes, which I hope he does, and maybe the change of venue will
help with that.
Will help with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
My other note is keep an eye on Jay Ajayi this week, and not for Jay Ajayi himself. But if Ajayi does not play on Sunday, which is a possibility, I believe, Corey Clement may be on your waivers, and you should pick him up.
Corey Clement played very well in Ajayi's absence.
Yeah, and I think that again without Ajayi, Clement will have a pretty damn good game against a Colts defense that is
not superb right now.
Not so great.
Not so great.
Oh, there's one more thing that we didn't talk about that we really need to talk about.
Sure, go ahead.
Either that, or I just spaced while you were saying it, and if so, I apologize.
That's fine.
Vontae Davis retired at halftime.
Oh no, we forgot to talk about that. Oh yeah.
Middle of the game, a player was just like, you know what, I'm done. And at first, like when you first said it to me, I was like, oh my god, that is the most Bills thing to happen.
Yeah.
Where like they were just playing so bad that at halftime someone was just done. They were just done with football.
Yeah.
But then I saw it was Vontae Davis, and I saw his reasoning, and he was just done with the game. It wasn't because he was on the Bills. He was just done with the game. Knew that he shouldn't be doing this anymore. So
yeah, I mean, there's a level of like I get it with him. Like I get why he did it, and I get that like that he didn't want to hurt himself anymore. You know, if he was worried about like getting injured, you know. And he just, you know, didn't feel like he was playing great, so he took himself out. But couldn't you at least, like, stay in the stadium? Or, like, at least, like, be on the sideline? Like, because someone brought it up earlier. There was a guy named Ike Taylor that used to play for the Steelers. A guy that was a very good Steeler. But one day he just went up to the coaches in the middle of a game. He was just like, I'm done. I can't play well. Put in the young guys. And just sat on the bench and never played again. But he sat on the bench and he stayed in the games and he was existent. And so I don't know. I feel like walking out of the stadium is a bit dramatic. I feel like he would I feel like he should have stayed at the stadium at the very least, just to be like, let me just be here for this team, and then I'll leave. I'll be done. You know, I'll retire. Just that was my take at least. But you know what? You know, it's to his decision, and you know, good for him. He had a pretty nice career overall. Some weird ass stories overall throughout his career. Weird injury stories that people thought he kind of faked injuries at times, and but you know, played very well when he was out on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
So and of course in the Illini, as you mentioned.
Yep, Illini graduate, probably the most famous one that we've had.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on Geronimo Allison.
Geronimo Allison, man, blocked a kick this week. I love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
awesome.
He blocked a kick against the Vikings. It was excellent. Got them a touchdown. So if you want to know what gave the Packers so much success this last week, part of it was Geronimo Allison.
Yeah.
There you go.
Keep your eye on the Illini. That's all I have for fantasy. Pick up Tyler Boyd. I don't know what his capacity is going to be. He's going to be a risky start no matter what. But if for some reason AJ Green isn't in the game, that's a start.
Yeah, he's just been such a factor in the game ever since the end of last year too. You know, like I mean, you know, he was the one that gave Buffalo their playoff berth. I mean, and he was still on the Bengals at that point. So, I think that Boyd is going to be a good player. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much he is utilized moving forward. But yeah, all right, we are good. We're set to go. Thank you all so much for listening. Once again, always fun to do these. We're going to be back next week with week 4 predictions, and a potential. We might do an early week 5 prediction as well. I'll talk with you about that after the podcast.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Go Cubs. Any closing words?
Not really.
Do good place. Not.
Watch the Good Place. Season 1 and 2 are on Netflix, and season 3 premieres in 9 days.
Yeah, the guy got the recommendation in there.
Yes.
Guy sticking in.
It is the best comedy, one of the best shows on TV at the moment.
There you go.
It's just really good, and you should watch it.
It's excellent. Well, I don't know, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.